just laughing at your modest tastes. There's a new line across your precious face. Don't let them take you in for research. You never know just what they're gonna do to you. You should ask him what he pays first, and then make sure he pays. But don't let your guard down. I know we're gonna make it right somehow, and I don't think there's ever been a better time than now. The waiting can take so long. I know you hate it, but you won't say it. There's no forecast for you to change. I started thinking of you in a different way, just off in the distance. Boredom will find us. You should call up your connections and say that we want in. Hold on to your handbag.
Well, what we have here is the 2016 Range Rover HSE Td6. What does Td6 stand for? That means 3-liter, 6-cylinder turbo diesel. You want to hear it? Listen carefully. What? Are they sure this is a diesel? Wow. When they first dropped this car off and I started it up, I had to open the hood and check. That's how smooth and silky this diesel sounds. I'm very, very impressed. And you got to keep in mind, this is the most powerful diesel you can get in a passenger vehicle, excluding trucks, even though this is kind of a truck. But that's kind of what I'm here to figure out. Is this still king of the off-road, or is it a pavement queen? Let's find out. As tested, this Range Rover costs $103,000 and change. Firstly, you're getting the latest and probably the greatest 6-cylinder, 3-liter turbo diesel you can get your hands on today. I don't think it's a diesel. Just listen. That's diesel? It has a permanent 4-wheel drive. It has high and low. It has terrain response. It has everything you need to take it off-road. But with that V6 diesel, you don't know it's a diesel. You don't even know it's a V6. I'm astonished. I mean, the way this thing picks up speed, especially in town, I don't know why you'd want a V8. The only thing that I dislike is that the air suspension is really just one mode. It's normal. Now, you can go to 2 off-road heights, but when you go over 50 miles per hour, the Range Rover will lower down to normal height. And when you're at higher speeds, it automatically adjusts the height on the freeway. So you really can't adjust the ride quality. And my problem here is, it does have this kind of air cushion wallowy feel to it. And on the roads here in Texas, in Austin, I do feel a little car sick. But when I go off-road, it's a bit different. What surprises me most about this Range Rover is the fact that it's only a 5-passenger vehicle. There is no third row seating. There's a huge amount of space back there, but it's all swallowed up by the spare tire. Also, I'm not a fan of this fidgety touchscreen system. It's too slow. Someone famously said that Range Rovers only do important things. And here in America, I disagree.
Hey there, how's it going?
Great, how are you?
Good, thanks for asking. What can I get you today?
I'll have a regular latte, please.
Alright, a regular latte?
Actually, make it a vanilla latte.
Vanilla latte?
Yeah.
Alright, regular vanilla latte. Anything else?
That's with 2 shots, right?
Yeah, the regular's gonna have 2 shots.
Perfect. That's it.
Alright, cool. It's gonna be $4.64 at the window. Thank you.
Thanks. As you can tell, most Range Rover owners aren't going to be going off-road in America because most of the roads that are public, actually all of the roads that are public in Texas are paved. So unless you have your own private driveway and you can't afford to pave it, you don't need an off-road vehicle out here. Plain and simple. And I think that's why Range Rover added all these neat little features that don't really play into any off-road capabilities. Thank you. So what makes this a pavement queen? Well, for starters, let's use this button here, the Park Assist feature. I can press it to find the space I'm looking for, whether it's parallel or perpendicular, and if I'm below 18 miles an hour, while it's activated, it will search for open spots and let me know. There we go. So, drive forward, it says. Stop and release wheel. Select R. Reverse with care. Here we go. Now you can see here on this camera stop, select D and await next instruction. Drive forward, okay? Select R. Bam. Parked. Now on the highway, I also have radar cruise. I simply hit set and it will take the speed I'm at and it will allow me to adjust the gap between the cars in front, and I also have a heads-up display. So no matter what my speed is set at, I can see my speed and the speed limit. And the speed limit is determined by cameras that actually do sign recognition. So if you're going through towns and the speed limit slows down, the car will slow down if there's a car in front of you, but it won't use that traffic sign recognition to slow the car down to the speed limit. A lot of the newer systems these days are now being released with that in mind. They're also being released with more efficiency built in by using the GPS data for elevation change and accommodating all of the driving dynamics based on incline and fuel efficiency. So while this Range Rover at $103,000 has a lot of features, they're not the best or the latest. Now this thing does move on the highway. You don't floor diesels. You basically just put your foot in about a quarter of the way on the throttle, changes gears. This ZF8 automatic transmission, same ones used in the BMWs and the Audis with the diesels as well, and they are very robust. The gear changes are efficient, they're very smooth, and with all those speeds, for some reason, even in this heavy, large, massive, wind-resistant Range Rover, it's always in the right gear. And that's because the ZF8s on most of these vehicles with diesels, they're almost telepathic. You really don't have to work very hard. And that's what makes this more of a luxurious off-roader than anything else, is a ZF8 speed with a low gear. Something else to consider is this car, on the pavement queen aspect, also has blind spot assist. So you have little icons in your mirrors that light up when someone is approaching you quickly, or when you want to change lanes and someone is in your spot, you'll see little icons light up, little yellow icons. Something else we get here is lane departure warning. It won't keep you in the lane like some of the other luxury cars do, where they auto steer you back in. But what it does do is it does vibrate the wheel when you encroach the line. This has electromechanical steering, or EPAS, and I'm pretty surprised that they don't use it to steer you back in lane. But then again, this car does have a high center of gravity, so it's probably best to leave it to the driver to make lane assist choices. Now we're cruising at 58 miles an hour on a freeway that is under construction, but notice how quiet this thing is. It has a laminated windscreen. It has a dual enforced motor mount, and it has an additional bulkhead, and all of that is in place on this diesel model to reduce the noise, vibration, and harshness. And it's not just from the diesel engine, it also benefits the chassis in general. So when you think about diesels and the price premiums they have over their gasoline counterparts, what you have to recognize is all the additional parts that are built in to make it even quieter. That's more than just the better engine choice of a diesel, it's also a better cabin than general. So yes, a $1,500 premium for a separate bulkhead and additional reinforced motor mounts and a laminated windscreen, I mean, that right there is probably worth thousands. And we haven't even added the cost of the diesel engine, but it's only about $2,000 difference between a gasoline and a diesel on a Range Rover. That's awesome. Something else that's awesome is doing 55 into 55 in the middle lane on a Sunday. Why is everyone in such a hurry? While I'm on the subject of comfort, these seats are astonishingly smaller than they look. It's almost it's actually smaller than a coach seat on an airline, but they are comfortable. I just wish that they were a lot bigger, because this is a massive vehicle, and all I have are these dainty British seats made for thin people. And being an American, you know, I can't help it. But at the same time, I really do wish we had more king-size seats. And that's surprising I don't have a king-size seat in the Off-Road King. Plus, they have this traditional Land Rover armrest here that comes down with this little knob. But there's already a center armrest, so I'm not sure why this is here. There is no wind noise at all. And being that this thing is so upright, the lack of wind noise is probably due to the windscreen and obviously the aerodynamics. But those are the little things where you understand that the price tag backs up the luxury claim. And I drive this thing to pursue all the little things to let you know what makes this so great. Unfortunately, Jaguar Land Rover said that I can only put 500 miles on this. And even though I've done only city driving and a little bit of off-roading, I have just about half a tank now, actually a little bit more than half a tank, and I've done 245 miles. Actually, on this screen here, I can see my eco data. And based on my advanced trip, the best journey in this car, with almost 6,000 miles, has been 36.1 mpgs. My last 3 journeys, I've averaged 29.3. And on this journey alone, I'm averaging 30.8 mpgs. And this is in the city of Austin. Obviously today, though, is a very light traffic day because it's Sunday. But this also includes commuting to the office 30 miles in traffic each way. So what this means is that if you're going to opt for a Range Rover, and if you hate stopping every 3 or 4 days to fill up, you can get the diesel for a $1,500 to $2,000 premium. Get the extra sound insulation that comes with it, and have the luxury of going 500 miles 500 miles on a tank in the city without having to fill up. Try that in a Tesla or a Leaf. So now, you couldn't even do that in an S-Class. If you really had to have a diesel luxury vehicle, the choices have slimmed down considerably. There's no more Mercedes S-Class diesel. The Audis, that's a different discussion. And the only other choice would be the BMW 7 Series. They have the 5 Series, they have the X5. But if you wanted to spend $103,000, if you had to spend the money, this is your only choice. But will you regret it? Well, let's take it off-road and find out. What I have here is the terrain response system, and I have it in auto. I have low, which I can select, but not in this case. It's not that steep of an incline. And if I want, I can press down on auto and the knob comes up, and now I can select different terrain. I can also, on this screen here, I can actually select the right arrow. This is not intuitive. And then 4x4i. And then what that gives me is a full rundown of what's going on here in the all-terrain setup. Now, I could also hit the I button, which then shows me the general programs. And what I could do is I could select a certain program by hitting I, and it will give me all the instructions on certain reasons for why I would use a program, one program versus the other. If I select a different one, this one says grass, gravel, snow, and the next one says mud ruts, another one says sand, and the last one says rock crawl, which I assume activates low range. I also have an air suspension, and if I press this button, it rises up. What really blows me away with this air suspension is how quickly and silently it raises and lowers this vehicle. This is not a light vehicle, and this means that this air suspension is very robust. It takes 4 seconds, is what it feels like, to raise it up. And I have 2 off-road modes here. I have a off-road 1 and an off-road 2, and the clearance is pretty respectable. By pressing this button, I am now in low range. Select neutral for range change. And now I press drive. And now I'm in low. So to get out of low, you basically want to change it to a different, let's try grass, gravel, snow, or let's try, you know what? Let's just push it down for auto. And we'll put it back in neutral, and I will deselect low, which is a real quick transition. Put it back in drive. Now we are in high range. You'll see the all-terrain response, and it shows all the different steering angles and where the power is going to, and we'll see if you can see much. Here we go. Here's one press of this button here, and we're raising to normal height. Another press, we're now moving to off-road height. The actual axle pitch is changing. And you don't necessarily get ground clearance, but you do get clearance to the off-road aspects. And now we are in off-road 2. So, drive mode is selected. Auto is selected for terrain response. And let's see how this works. Oh, let me get a swig of my coffee. What astonishes me is how smooth this thing is on this rocky terrain. What I'm going to do now is select reverse. And you'll see when I'm in reverse, I have a camera set up. And it's not only just the reverse camera, but I can actually change the cameras. What I can do with camera change is choose parking assist graphics, I can choose parking assist guidance, and I can choose hitch guidance. I can actually change it to park distance control view, which is just the sonar. I can go cameras again, and then I can go back. I can actually select a camera. And this is the problem I have with such a slow responding system. If I choose a camera, I can now see special views. And based on special views, I have the camera underneath each mirror, which shows if I'm going to encroach on a rock. And if I show another angle, I can show a T-junction view. So this is basically the rear of the vehicle. If I chose another angle, plan view, so this is a 360, and I see a little plant there. And if I choose another view, rear junction, right, so that's behind me. T-junction is in front of me. These British terms, so confusing. And I do have another view, but when I'm in drive, it's available. So let's go back to this view and enlarge. So let's see how this works. The turning circle on this is nice and tight. I have no complaints. Now if I stop here, I'm at the crest of a little bit of a downhill run. I actually have hill descent control, and I get a display here that gives me a range of about 10 miles an hour to 20 miles an hour, and if I take my foot off the brake, it'll automatically control the downhill descent. Here we go. Yep, I feel it braking. Another problem with this system is that I actually have to keep clicking through buttons to get back to where I was. It doesn't auto time on any of these screens, especially on the camera screen. So now I need to go back to 4x4i, and now we can see the actual off-road progress here. Yeah, this is king of the off-road, I gotta say that. You'll see when I get close to a range, I get a yellow icon or an orange icon here. You can see the articulation going on right now. Everything's in the orange. So what you're getting for $103,000 and change is the world's best all-wheel drive system. You can go off-road whenever you want and pretty much get wherever you need to be without any fuss. But do you really need it?